Ladies and gentlemen, this is the fastest way to get to $10,000 a month online in 2022. And today I'll actually show you how making the wrong decisions can actually speed up your process by 13.7 times. You see, getting to $10,000 a month is actually a fairly simple process. It really just comes down to three things: a proven business model, a proven action plan, and a map to guide your way. Now, as we've seen in the past few episodes of Remote Revolution, the business model can make or break your path to $10,000 a month online. Choosing the right one can increase your odds of succeeding to 70%, and choosing the wrong ones can mean that you have less than a 1% chance of succeeding. And that's no matter how hard you actually work at it. You're generating leads or you're generating discernible ROI for your clients. Instead, I used to have a creative agency and, I was making at the age of 17, 15 grand a month.
At the end of the day, the real power in business is subtraction, not addition.
Now, what does it even mean to choose the right business model? How do you define which one's the right one and which one's the wrong one? Well, the definition of right to wrong will vary from person to person, but really it comes down to one thing: timing. We all know that being in the right place at the right time can make you rich. This was true with real estate, the internet, Bitcoin, and it's just as true today. However, when most people think about timing, they think exclusively of external factors: the economy, the current state of technology, the current situation of their industry, which is indeed extremely important, but it's not the only type of timing. This is market timing. It's what we think of when we always say, he was there at the right time. What most people never realize, though, is that there's another type of timing that comes into the equation. And that's career timing. You see, we're all at different stages of our career. Some of us are still studying in college or high school and don't have any income. Others are working at entry-level jobs just to get some money coming into the bank, while others already have a decent amount of experience in a certain field and are making good money. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we have people who are already very experienced and business savvy and have disposable capital to deploy in different businesses and investments. Depending on where you are in your career stage spectrum, some business models will be better suited for you compared to others. For example, a decade ago, there was a mobile app frenzy. After everyone saw Uber, Instagram, Snapchat, and all these other fintechs and other types of app getting billions in valuation, it actually became a well-accepted idea that all it took from someone to succeed was creating the new trendy app. Now, if you actually take a look at the vast majority of people who actually succeeded in this period, the vast majority of them were at a very similar career stage. Contrary to what most people think, they had a lot of money to invest and already had experience developing apps. I mean, the people who started an app from their dorm room and then went on to build a billion-dollar business, these cases were literally 1 in a million, if that. And that's because spending months or even years to develop an application or a software and then spend all this money to actually attract new users in, usually at a loss, is a very, very difficult task. I mean, I would know that's exactly what we're doing at my software company, Agency Flow, except, unlike other software companies, I didn't receive a $10 or $20 million check at the beginning in order to actually fund all this stuff. We have to do it bootstrapped. So as a result, a business model like that is much better suited for you when you're later on in your career stage and you've really had some successful wins under your belt. So as a beginner, that's the last thing you want to focus on. Now, what you want to do instead is choose a business model that allows you to start making money without having to spend months working on a product, without having to invest a lot in capital to get started, and ideally without even having to invest anything at all, and one where you have a high transaction value, meaning instead of selling a $20 product, you should aim to be selling a $2,000 product, because it is much, much easier to get to $10,000 a month when you only have to make 5 sales instead of 500 sales every month. Then you want something with very high margins, so that way you're keeping majority, if not everything, of what you're making. And this is different than most businesses, because most businesses only keep 2 to 5% of everything they make in revenue. And finally, you want something that's relatively easy to fulfill or relatively easy to find someone to fulfill it for you. So that way you can work on the business and not in the business. And that, my friends, is the perfect beginner-friendly business model. Now, if you watch the last 3 episodes of Remote Revolution, you know the business model that fits all of these criteria. And if you don't, I'll tell you in a minute. Now, I've been in the online business game for 6 years at this point, and I've realized that for everyone who's successfully taken a business from 0 to 7 figures a year, for all of them, their success can be traced back to 2 or 3 key decisions that they made. In fact, for some of them, they don't even make the right decision most of the time. And it's all right, because the 2 or 3 times where they did make the right decision, it actually outweighed all of the wrong decisions that they ever made. These 2 or 3 moments ended up being such good decisions where they hit the nail on the head that it ended up being the tipping point of their careers. And those decisions happen when market timing meet career timing. And I've gone through this exact same experience. Back in 2014, I started flipping Instagram accounts. That didn't really work out for me. In 2015, I started personal training my friends' parents. That didn't really work out for me either. Then I was actually a freelance photographer, videographer in 2016. I mean, that did okay, but it was only once I started a content creation agency, when I went from a freelancer to an agency, and then boom, I was off to the races. This was my first time experiencing a bit of success, and I managed to go from $0 to $10,000 a month with it. But that was not quite it yet. It was only then that I got aware about the existence of the two types of timing. And then I realized that although I had hit a business model that was good for my career stage, the market timing wasn't ideal. So what I did was I transitioned to a very similar business model, but one where I knew market timing was there. And that was the tipping point for me. That was when I was able to start hitting the 30, 50, even $100,000 a month profit with my online business. And it was also the launch pad for me to then pivot into other businesses. Now, I say all this to make it clear that I've made wrong decisions multiple times throughout my journey. But at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, because the one time that I made the right decision, my life was changed forever. What I want you to realize here is that the reason people don't achieve success isn't because they make the wrong decisions. Because as I said, in the long run, it doesn't really matter. The people who don't succeed are the ones who just never took a decision in the first place. Now, going back to what we're talking about when it comes to the business model, I mentioned that there's actually one business model where you can start making money without having to spend months working on a product, without having to invest anything to get started, where you can actually command high ticket prices while selling it easily, where you can pretty much keep everything you make, and fulfilling the services is easy, so that way you can work on your business rather than working in the business. Now, different to what most people think, the business model is not creating a dropshipping store, creating an online app, creating an online course, or affiliate marketing. Now, the reason most people fail is because, as I said, they pick the wrong vehicle. They look at all those business models thinking they'll be the answer to their problems, when quite honestly, it is the exact opposite. For example, in order to get a dropshipping store off the ground, you have to invest thousands of dollars to find a winning product while dealing with laser thin margins. Or you have to spend hundreds or even thousands of hours developing a product to sell as an online app or online course, and you don't even know if such product would sell. All of these constraints require a lot of business experience to deal with. That's why the best business in the world for beginners is starting a simple agency. What you do is actually extremely simple. You find businesses that are in need of one particular service and you provide them with such service. And there are countless of high demand services that allow you to charge anywhere from $1,000 to $10,000 a month for them. And the most usual we see our students have success with a great agency are paid traffic, aka Facebook ads, Google ads, YouTube ads, content creation, conversion rate optimization, which is basically a fancy name for saying taking an e-commerce product page and redesigning it in a way that gets more people to buy their product. Email marketing, which is basically writing daily or weekly emails. I mean, you would be astonished if you saw the amount of revenue that emails can bring to e-commerce stores, as well as social media management. Ladies and gentlemen, you just got to pick one of them and stick to it. Now, I'm going to give you a proper list of services in just a few minutes, and I'm actually going to show you how to get the service delivered by someone else in case you don't know how to fulfill such services by using a little hack called contractor arbitrage. Running an agency that sells simple services to small to medium-sized businesses is the easiest way to go from $0 to $10,000 a month online. This is exactly what people like Joseph are using to get paid $8,000 a month by small businesses on a 3-month minimum agreement, all after being stuck in the same place in life for 2 years. And that's only a fraction of what you can actually accomplish with this business model. There are 4 stages in your career as an agency owner. The first one we call glorified contractor. And this is where you're making $1,000 to $5,000 a month and you're still experimenting a lot. You're trying different services and niches and just finding out which one works best for you. We call it glorified contractor phase because here your clients still see you more like a freelancer than a proper agency. Now, when I first started my agency, it took me 7 months to actually get out of the glorified contractor stage. And in a minute, I'm actually going to show you how you can do it in a third of the time. Then you go to the second stage, the boutique agency. Now, this is where you're making $5,000 to $10,000 a month. Here, you complete the transition from self-employed freelancer to a proper business owner who runs a real agency. You already have your service and niche dialed in, and you start to get specialized with them. And I actually went through this phase twice. That's because I first had a content creation agency, and when I got to this stage, I got stuck. I wasn't able to break through that $10,000 a month ceiling. And it was only then that I decided to completely tear apart my whole content creation agency and start an advertising agency from scratch. And after that, I was able to break through the ceiling in less than 60 days. And we've also gotten more than 1,000 students to this stage with Agency Navigator along with its previous iterations. But I mention this because I want you to know that there's going to be resistance throughout your journey. There's going to be times when you feel like giving up, and when it's important to remember, have a plan and stick to the plan, which I'm going to deliver to you in a few minutes. And number 2, have people around you who are walking the same path as you, so that way you have like-minded people who have your back when times get difficult. Going at it alone is already hard, so make sure you've got fellow agency owners working alongside you. So now you get to our third stage, and this is the lean, mean, results-driven agency. Here, you're already making $10,000 to $30,000 a month. And this is when you really start to experience exponential growth. And by the way, this is not only from your agency, by the way. At this stage, you're pulling in so much money from your clients that you start putting money into investments and build multiple streams of income. And it was at this stage that I actually experienced the biggest financial leap in my career. I went from an agency owner making tens of thousands of dollars a month online in profit, and I used that money to actually start other businesses that brought me in more cash flow. And I also used that free cash flow to build up my investment portfolio. And I actually got to a point where my investment portfolio was making me the same amount of money as my agency. But before I got to that point, I had to renounce a couple things. I was still a high school student at the time, and I needed more time to invest into my business. I grew up with a single mom in London. She's basically the only family that I have. And she basically gave up on her life for way too many years in order to work 2 jobs. And when I was born, she was still only 23. And she used to work 3 jobs while my grandmother took care of me before we actually moved to London. She sacrificed everything for me. She put it all on the line so that way I could actually go to a good school growing up. That was one of the greatest gifts that she could give me. But funnily enough, that was one of the things that I needed to renounce. I had to give up on it. And it turned out to be one of the greatest decisions of my life. But it was extremely hard for me, and especially hard for my mother at the time. And I say this because you may too need to renounce some things that are very difficult. And you're going to need to do that in order to achieve success. And the first thing that I want you to renounce is any excuse in your mind right now for why you can't take action on this. Because after today, you would have learned everything you needed to know, and the only person stopping you is you. With all that being said, if you really commit to this, you'll get to a stage where your investments from the cash flow, from the money that you make from your agency, end up making you more money than the agency itself. This is what an agency allows you to do. You want to get into real estate? Create an agency and use the cash flow it generates to get you into the property market. You want to get into the stock market? Create an agency and use the cash flow it generates to get you into it. I mean, hey, you even want to buy and sell luxury cars as a side hustle? Well, create an agency and use the cash flow it generates in order to get you started. And you can even use your agency as a launch pad to get into any business model available out there. It's 10 times easier to get into them when you have the money to get started. And we currently have a few hundred students at this stage inside of Grow Your Agency. Now, finally, we get to our last and most exciting part of the agency journey. Now, this is when you become a private equity incubator. Now, here you're bringing home anywhere from $30,000 to upwards of $250,000 a month. And you're not only working with clients, but you also have investments in them because you have so much extra cash that the agency brings you. You are now using it as leverage, which means you can act as an angel investor to clients' businesses, but with a slight little twist. Because angel investors only invest in a business and hope the businesses grow. At most, what they can do is give some advice, but they don't have too much control over the business's decisions and most importantly, over the business's operations. While you, as an agency, has direct control of the business operations. And not only that, but you also know exactly how to grow such businesses because you've already done it over and over for your other clients. So your chances of success are much higher than a regular angel investor. And when the time comes around and one of your clients gets acquired for 8 figures or multiple 8 figures, you get a very large chunk of that. And this is really the stage where I'm at now, where I'm not only offered to invest in the early stages of promising businesses, but I'm also given majority stakes in companies that have the potential to sell for 9 figures, all because of the authority and results I've built throughout the years in my industry. So with all that being said, you now know what the possibilities are with this online business model. And now you just might be asking yourself, okay, so how can I do this in practice? So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to give you the 3 steps to your first $10,000 a month. So the 3 steps to getting to $10,000 a month are a plan, accountability, and intensity. Now here's the plan I've created. And this is the plan that 20-year-olds are using to get paid thousands of dollars a month by local businesses without having to fulfill any of the services themselves. And it's the exact same plan I came up with and used to get to $15,000 a month at the age of 17. And here's how the plan works. It's composed into 6 phases. On phase 1, all you have to do is select a service and a niche so that way you can get started. The important thing here is selecting a service that allows you to command high ticket prices. And the best way to do that is to choose a service that has a direct impact on sales for businesses. For example, it's very hard to sell a website at a high price these days. And that's because it is very hard for the businesses to attribute a monetary return on their investment when it comes to building a website. Usually websites have more of an institutional purpose for businesses, rather than a sales purpose. However, if on the other hand, you take an e-commerce website and just work on redesigning their top product pages, it is very easy to attribute a return on such investment. All you have to do is see what's the uplift in sales for that specific product after the redesign. As a result, it's very easy to charge a high price for such service. And not only that, but it takes 1/100th of the work to redesign a product page than it takes to build a whole website from scratch. And even better are services that you can charge recurringly, like social media management, email marketing, and paid traffic. And if you don't know how to provide any of these services, don't worry, I'm going to show you how to get it done by someone else. Then we go to number 2, which is mindset. Now, I've given this plan to thousands of students. Some went on to make $10,000 a month with it. Some even went on to make $100,000 a month with it. And some never even made a single dime from that exact plan. So what sets these people apart? The ones who went on to make $100,000 compared to the ones who never made a dime from it. It simply comes down to mindset. If you don't approach this plan with the right mindset, you will inevitably get stuck at one of the steps. Inside Agency Navigator, we've got one of the best mindset trainings available online. And if you want a summary of what it takes mindset-wise to achieve success, I recommend you take a look at the video I have on my YouTube channel titled Monk Mode, What It Takes to Win. But only do that after you finish watching this video, so that way you get the entire plan. Then in phase 3, this is where you learn how to find the right clients. Here's where most people get it wrong with this business model. They watch a random video on YouTube about sales and prospecting and simply start cold calling and sending emails to everyone with no strategy behind their efforts. Then they get no results and they think they're not good at sales or that they're saying something wrong. When in fact, what happened is that they didn't take time to choose who to contact in the first place. When you do that properly, your response rate can go up by tenfold. The way I usually go about this is I find an influencer in the niche that I sell to and I start compiling a list of good potential clients from their influencer's followers list. So after you did your homework compiling a list of people to contact, you go to phase 4, which is prospecting. Here is where you actually go ahead and contact these potential clients and get them on a meeting with you. There are countless ways of doing that. My current favorite and what I see working the best for our students at the moment is Instagram outreach. I simply go on the profiles I selected and I send them a simple message using that influencer as the reason as to why I'm contacting them. Oh, I see you also follow this influencer and work with such and such. Then I just quickly mention what I do and entice them to jump on a call with me by offering them something of value to them. For example, if you're working with chiropractors, you can say, I've seen this chiropractor running this ad in another city and it's bringing them X amount of patients a month. If that's something that interests you, I can jump on a call to show you the ad and show you how you can create something similar for your practice. Then once you get prospects on a call with you, you then go to phase 5, which is sales. Now here's where you close clients for $1,000 to $10,000 a month in agency service fee. Now there's a gazillion sales tactics out there and we cover the best ones for agencies inside of phase 5 of Agency Navigator. So this could be a 5-hour video on its own. Now, when you're first starting out, what I recommend you do is totally forget any sales tactics and just show to the client that you can help them by actually helping them, such as with the example of running through a competitor ad that they could use. Then you just ask if they know how to do it themselves or would like some help implementing it. If they do need help, well, then you sell them on your agency services. Every single day, we have dozens of students signing clients at anywhere from $1,000 a month to upwards of $15,000 a month. And finally, we get to phase 6, which is service delivery. Now, here's where you fulfill the services to your clients. Now, if you don't know how to fulfill the services yourself, you can take advantage of a simple hack I call contractor arbitrage. It consists of hiring a contractor to deliver the services for you. And that's the exact same thing as any big service-based company does. The difference is that we hire them on a per client basis, which means they get paid based on how many clients they're actually managing, and they only get paid after the client pays you, which means you never have to pay anything out of pocket, and you never run into any cash flow issues because if you lose a client, they stop getting paid for that client too. Now, each phase of this plan corresponds to one of the phases inside of our flagship program, Agency Navigator. That's the same program that generated all the student results we've covered in this video. Now, inside Agency Navigator, we cover each step of each phase in excruciating detail to make sure every single question you may have is answered. So here's the thing. We've had kids straight from high school successfully starting their agencies and scaling them up to $10,000 a month. And even people who can barely speak English doing the same, all using this exact same 6-step plan. And if you had this exact same roadmap at your disposal, do you think you'd be able to do the same? Great. So here's the second step to your first $10,000 month. It doesn't matter how good the plan is that I give you if you don't apply it. Just like in the gym, you can have the best workout routine and the best personal trainer, but if you don't show up, it doesn't matter, right? You won't get results if you don't show up. So the reason we have such high success rates is because we have 3 forms of accountability. We have peer-to-peer accountability, where you'll have people at the same level as you, starting at the same time you're starting, so that way you can walk this journey together and stop feeling that it is you against the world. It becomes us against the world. And that makes a huge difference when times get difficult. Next, you'll have alumni accountability. So people who are further ahead of you, and they're going to be pulling you and cheering you ahead because they've done it and they know the way. Guys like Basil, who used to be that guy that only looked at other people's wins, is now the ones posting the wins. And guys like Courtney, who managed to sign 15 clients in the first 2 months of 2022. And then we have our third form of accountability, which is actually expert accountability. And these are from the coaches who have done this hundreds and hundreds of times. We have weekly Q&A calls with Pierre, who scaled his own agency from $0 to $1,000 a month and was also a partner at another agency doing $100K a month. And he's actually also my business partner at Agency Flow, my software company. So he gets to see the inner workings of hundreds of agencies every single day. Then we also have Luis on the Q&A calls, and he is the lead media buyer at my own agency. So he's in the trenches every day taking care of my own clients. Finally, we have Max, who is our student integration manager for Apex, our mastermind level programs for agencies doing more than $10,000 a month. And he's also specialized in prospecting and sales. So he also hosts a weekly Q&A to help students with their outreach efforts. And they are all ready and there to help you. Now, the final thing you need is intensity. Throughout the years, I've noticed that the people who take this plan and immerse themselves completely into doing it during a whole month, every single day, well, their odds of succeeding are exponentially higher than the ones who try to do it over long periods of time without ever going all in. That's because you learn so much faster when you immerse yourself completely in a subject without giving room for distractions. And not only that, but the amount of results you produce in 1 month when you go all in is greater than you'd produce in 6 months, just giving it half your effort. That's why the third element you need in order to succeed is intensity. Intensity breeds disruption. Intensity is what creates greatness. I mean, think about it. Navy SEALs are considered to be the best special forces unit there is. And they're only the best because their training is the most intense there is. They're forged through intensity. Just like the most precious stones are created under the most intense conditions, extreme temperature and extreme pressure, intensity forges long-lasting success. And what we figured out is that if a student gets into Agency Navigator and they don't go through the first phase within a week, their odds of succeeding drop by 10 times. And that's because they already lost track of the intensity. They didn't go all in. I mean, it's the exact same thing with going to the gym. Let's say you pay for a gym subscription, but you don't show up for the first week. What are the odds of you showing up in the weeks after that? They're way lower than it was of you showing up in the first week. So pretty much, just by not showing up in the first week, you already walked 80% of your way to failure. On the other hand, what if you showed up every single day of the first 6 weeks of you joining the gym? First of all, you'd already start seeing your small wins and progress during that period, which would get you even more committed to showing up. Then, knowing that you already showed up every day for the first 6 weeks and already started seeing your first signs of progress, how likely would you be to keep showing up in the upcoming weeks? Very likely. I mean, pretty much 100% odds. So that led us to think, how can we ensure that when people join Agency Navigator, they're presented with an intense environment that forces them to wash through the program and take action in the first 6 weeks? The big challenge for us as a company with Agency Navigator is that since it is the most in-depth program when it comes to starting an online business and growing it to $10,000 a month, that means there's a lot of content inside. And that means that it can take a few weeks to actually go through all of the content. And then what happens is that some people just never start, and some people start, but just abandon ship halfway through. So basically we thought, how can we shorten this learning curve by half so that way our students get results in half the amount of time? And even better, how do we turn an experience like this into an intense experience? And that's when we came up with the idea of running an intense immersion covering the 6 steps of this plan in 6 live masterclasses that go hand in hand with each phase of Agency Navigator. But of course, we didn't simply want this to be an extension of Agency Navigator. We wanted it to be next level because at Great Agency, we have a rule, and that's that if we release a product, it needs to set the bar higher than anything else on the market. So what we did is that we took all of our top experts that teach at our mastermind level program, Apex, and challenged them to put together a masterclass for each one of the 6 phases. Meaning we've got myself covering the first 2 phases, foundations and mindset, which are the 2 things that I'm sort of most well known for. We've got Pierre covering operations, and he's my co-founder at Agency Flow, who I already mentioned earlier a few minutes ago. We've got Michael covering lead sourcing and prospecting. Then we've got our CEO and sales manager at Great Agency, Paul, who's going to be covering phase 5, which is sales. And just to give you some context, Paul was invited to lead Tony Robbins' sales team and declined the invitation to work with us at Great Agency instead. Plus, he has a few millions of agency sales under his belt on his own unique agency, which he went on to sell for multiple 6 figures last year. Then we've got Danny covering service delivery. Now, Danny is the CMO at my own agency, and he started out running ads for local businesses with very limited budget. Over the last 4 years that we've worked together, he's become one of the top media buyers in the world, and now he makes millions for our agency clients at IAG Media. Danny basically spent his entire career learning how to take a small amount of money and multiply it into way more money for clients. We've decided to call all of this the Agency Navigator Fast Track. And the way it's going to work is that each masterclass is going to happen live in a Zoom call, where we'll first cover all the content regarding that phase. Then we'll give you a mission for the week that you have to complete before the next live masterclass. Then inside of our private community, we'll have everyone that's going through Agency Navigator Fast Track alongside you, so that not only you guys can help each other with missions, but we'll also have coaches daily in there holding you guys accountable to actually completing the missions. Essentially, we're guaranteeing that you show up and put in the work. So to sum everything up, this is basically your map to starting an online business and taking it to 7 figures. And what does it take for you to leave the base camp we have here in our map and get to the final destination at the top of the mountain? First, you need a plan, which is Agency Navigator. Second, you need people to hold you accountable. And that's why we have our 3 levels of accountability: peer-to-peer with people in the same level as you, alumni accountability from people who are further ahead of you in the same journey, as well as expert accountability from our coaches who have done this hundreds of times, which you can get on our weekly Q&A calls with Luis, Pierre, and Max. And last but not least, you need intensity. And that's what the Agency Navigator Fast Track is all about. Now, usually we sell Agency Navigator for $1,500, and that also gets you access to our private community and Q&A calls. And in fact, we might change for a subscription-based model soon, where people will have to pay $1,500, but it's going to be paid yearly. And the reason that is because it takes dozens of hours every week for our coaches to give enough attention to everyone in the program, to the point where it will eventually become unsustainable, keeping it a one-time fee. And by the way, we already made a shift to the subscription-based model on Apex, which is our higher ticket program, by the way. Now, when it comes to Agency Navigator Fast Track, we've never actually sold this before. And since it's a live intensive program, there's no way to sell that on an ongoing basis like we do with the Agency Navigator. So I have no idea if I'm ever going to sell this again. And even if I do, it's definitely not on the cards in the near future. Now, a program like this would usually cost something around $3,000, because it would be a middle step between our $1,500 program, Agency Navigator, and Apex, which is sort of our high ticket course mastermind hybrid. Now, today, we're going to do a one-time deal specifically for those of you guys who have watched all the episodes of the Remote Revolution. And in a moment, I'm going to open the cart for this offer. And you're going to get access to Agency Navigator Fast Track, as well as the private community and weekly Q&A sessions. Basically everything we discussed. However, you're not going to be paying the total of $4,500 for this package. Now, when I launch the offer in just a few seconds here, you're going to be getting this full package for only $995. However, this offer is only going to be available until Sunday. After that, Agency Navigator Fast Track will be enclosed for enrollments, and Agency Navigator will go back to its regular price of $1,500. But there's a catch. Listen, we don't have enough hands to give one-on-one attention to everyone who wants to join this promo. Potentially thousands of people will be joining the Agency Navigator Fast Track. And we only hire the best people to work with us. So it's against our company culture to hire any average person just to fulfill punctual demands and make a quick buck. So that's why we decided that everyone who buys will get access to Agency Navigator, the Discord community, and weekly Q&A calls, as well as the Agency Navigator Fast Track live masterclasses. However, only the first 300 people who buy today will get access to the separate private community, where you're going to get special attention and expert accountability from our coaches daily during the period of the fast track. Once 200 people are in, we close that separate group. Now, we're opening enrollments in the exact moments as this video is premiering. So if you want to be one of the 300 people who are going to get premium support from our coaches, make sure you purchase the program now. We have almost 40,000 people registered to this event, so the spots are going to fill up quickly. And you can get access to this by clicking the first link in the description, and it will also be pinned in the live comments section by the side of this video. Now, it's going to take you to a page with all the information you need about the Agency Navigator Fast Track package. And if you have any questions at all, you can always reach out to our support team. Or if you really want to speak to our member of our team, right at the bottom, you're actually going to be able to book in a call with one of our student success coaches. Now, my team that comprises of Emmanuel and Christian, they've literally gone through my programs and built up their own agencies, realized what an impact we're making, and then ended up joining the company. So that way they can answer questions or queries from anyone who may have been in their situation where they're wondering, hey, is this the right move for me? So I know that for 99.9% of you, you're like, I want this now, and I want to be one of the first people to get it. So if that's you, you can just enroll straight away and get immediate access to the program. But as I said, for those of you who may be on the edge or may have one final sort of question and just want to speak to a human, you can also book in a call with Emmanuel or Christian at the bottom of the page. Now, a lot of people ask why we'd ever discount our main product this much. And I always say that Gray Agency is way more than a company. It's a mission. We're on a mission to reform the current education system, which is completely and utterly broken. And in order to do that, we need to make our message reach as many people as we can. Even though majority of our customer base is from the US and UK, we have tens of thousands of people who identify with the same mission but don't have access to our programs, especially the individuals from third world countries due to the huge discrepancy in currency exchange rates. So this means that a $500 discount could mean months worth of savings for them. So the one other time in history that we've ever run a promotion, we also made sure we gave back. So that's why part of the proceeds will always go to charity, helping us build schools for communities in needs in Nepal. We've already built 4 schools to this day and already have 2 more which are currently in construction, all fully funded by Gadzhi Agency. Today, the proceeds from the first 200 sales that come in will all be donated to fund the building of 1 more school in Nepal. We're on a mission to build 1,000 schools, and we're going to get there one by one. Now that's my first reason. Now my second reason is a little bit more selfish, if I'm being honest. Majority of the money that we make at Gadzhi Agency is not from Agency Navigator. We have to spend a lot of money to get people through the door. And where we really make money is when people ascend to Apex. That means that they enrolled in Agency Navigator, created their agency, and scaled it to $10,000 a month, and then acquired our higher level program. So it is in my best interest to get more people into Agency Navigator and to ensure that every single one of our students gets positive results so that way they can ascend in their own agency journey. Basically, our model is pretty simple. We help as many people start online businesses as possible. And Agency Navigator and that front portion of our business doesn't really make any money between all the costs for the custom platform, my massive team, the schools in Nepal that we build, etc., etc. But we're so confident in our product that we make our money on the back end. So when people succeed and they're like, hey, I bought this, I got the result that they said I would. And sometimes it takes 3 months, sometimes it takes 6 months, sometimes it takes a year, sometimes even 2 years. But the point is they get the result. They build a 6-figure a year profit online business. And they're like, wow, they were right. So they must be right if they say I can get to $100,000 a month and they can show me how in Apex. So that's basically our business model. Help as many people on the front end without actually taking home any profit, knowing very well that once they succeed, they will join our much more expensive program that helps existing agency owners. Now, let's do some quick math. Most people have no idea how easy it is to make $100,000 a year with their agency. When you correctly execute on this plan that I just gave you, it takes on average 40 hours to sign a new client. Considering the time it takes to compile a list of potential clients, reach out to them, get a reply from a fraction of them, get a meeting with a few of the ones that reply, and finally sign one of the potential clients that you had a meeting with. With that, you should be able to get at least 3 to 4 new clients per month. And at $2,000 a month each, that's $6,000 to $8,000 a month in new monthly recurring revenue each month. And over the course of 1 year, that's $72,000 to $96,000 a year just from 3 to 4 new agency clients. Now, when you stick to the plan I just gave you, it becomes effortless to attract at least 3 to 4 new clients and produce $100,000 a year. Now, to make $100,000 a year in a job, it takes qualifications, decades of work experience, and slave-like hours. And even if you have all of that and put in the work, majority of the ones that do don't ever even get to $100,000 years. When you start an agency business, $100,000 a year is the norm. All it takes is one whale client to get there. Now, if you don't know what a whale client is, inside of Agency Navigator, we have a tiered system to label clients. First, we've got what we call fish clients. Now, this is a client who pays $1,000 to $3,000 per month. You get a couple of these clients and you're already making a full-time income. We have students catching fish every day, and we usually have people posting in our private community a montage of yourself catching a fish whenever you sign a new client. Here's Marquez catching 5 fish. His post is also a good reminder that there's no such thing as not succeeding with his business model. It took him longer than usual to catch his first fish, but once he did catch his first one, he managed to catch 5 fish in a 1-week period. The second tier is a shark. Now, this is a client who pays $3,000 to $8,000 a month. All it takes is one of these clients and you can quit your job. You can see Alex here, who caught a $4,000 a month shark. And also me here, riding a shark in one of my own sales debriefs. And the third and most prestigious tier is the whale. That's a client who pays $8,000 per month. And this one client alone will bring you more than $100,000 in a year. It takes only one of those to achieve most people's goals of having a 6-figure salary. And you can see Adela here posing right next to multiple whales. He's making $42,000 a month just with the base fee he charges his clients, not including the performance fee, which is a common practice between our students as well. His next aim is to reach $100,000 months. Now, you know what I've never, ever seen? Someone who worked on their agency day in, day out consistently for 24 months and didn't get to $100,000 a year. Every single one who sticks to it manages to get there. The only ones that fail are the ones who don't execute the plan or give up in the middle of it. With this plan, it's possible to achieve your first 10K month within the space of 60 days. But what if you don't? What if it takes 4 months, 6 months, even 8 months? What's your other option? Keep stuck in the same place you are right now, working a job that you hate or studying a degree that you're not passionate about? Starting your own agency is the way. We talked a lot about taking decisions throughout this entire event. And now it's time for you to take yours. Here's the moment where you decide, are you gonna be a slave of your own fears, or are you finally gonna become a master of your own fate? We have a full 14-day money-back guarantee. That's a no questions asked 14-day guarantee. That's not a, hey, you need to do these 100 things action-based guarantee with a bunch of terms and conditions. We are the only people who are so confident that we have a full, no questions asked 14-day money-back guarantee. So I suggest you take a bet on yourself. Just remember, the ones who don't succeed are the ones who never took a decision in the first place. So on that note, I'll see you inside of Agency Navigator.